Imani Johnson stood at the threshold of her dreams, a feeling of anticipation bubbling within her as she approached the bustling entrance of the Grand City Mall. The mall, a sprawling hub of commerce and culture in the heart of the city, was alive with energy. Its expansive glass facade gleamed under the bright midday sun, reflecting the vibrant colors of the world around it. Crowds of shoppers filtered in and out, their laughter and chatter blending into a lively symphony that echoed through the atrium. For Imani, this was not just any day. It was the day she would unveil her latest innovation to the world. As a young Black woman in the tech industry, Imani had faced her share of challenges. Her journey had been one of breaking barriers, overcoming skepticism, and proving that talent knows no color or gender. She had always been passionate about technology, fascinated by its potential to improve lives and connect people. With every new product she designed, Imani aimed to bridge the gap between the complex world of technology and the everyday user. Her latest creation, a revolutionary smart device that promised to enhance connectivity and accessibility, was a testament to that vision. With her heart racing, Imani adjusted her blazer and took a deep breath. Today marked the culmination of years of hard work, late nights spent coding and designing, and countless moments of self-doubt. It was her opportunity to showcase not only her product, but also her journey as a Black entrepreneur, determined to carve out a place in a predominantly male industry. She envisioned women like her, dreamers and innovators, standing in the audience, inspired by her story and empowered to pursue their own passions. Inside the mall, Imani had secured a prime location for her launch event, strategically chosen to attract the maximum foot traffic. The area was surrounded by popular retailers, and she could already envision the throngs of curious shoppers stopping by to learn about her smart device. The air buzzed with excitement as she set up her booth, meticulously arranging the display to highlight the sleek design and user-friendly features of her creation. "Imani, you've got this!" Aisha called out as she approached, her voice cutting through Imani's moment of introspection. Aisha, Imani's best friend and confidant, had been by her side through thick and thin, always ready to lend support when it mattered most. With her bright smile and infectious energy, Aisha brought a sense of calm to the whirlwind of nerves that Imani felt. "I know, I want everything to be perfect," Imani replied, forcing a smile despite her apprehension. Aisha wrapped her arms around Imani, giving her a reassuring squeeze. "You've worked so hard for this moment. Just remember to breathe and be yourself. People will love what you've created because it's from you." Imani nodded, her confidence bolstered by her friend's unwavering faith in her abilities. Together, they adjusted the banners that advertised her product and ensured the lighting was just right, highlighting the device's sleek edges and innovative design. As they worked, the mall's atmosphere enveloped them, a mix of the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls from the nearby cafe and the sound of children laughing as they played in the toy store. As the event time approached, Imani took a moment to step back and appreciate her surroundings. She watched as families wandered through the mall, couples laughed over shared meals, and friends engaged in animated conversations. The energy was palpable, and she felt a sense of purpose swell within her. This event was not just about selling a product, it was about representation, about challenging the status quo, and about showing the world that women of color can lead in tech. The clock ticked down to the start of the event, and Imani felt her excitement bubbling up again, tempered by the reality of the moment. She had invited local media, influential tech bloggers, and potential investors to attend, hoping to spark interest and support for her venture. The stakes were high, but so was her determination. As she stood behind her booth, Imani could see the first attendees trickling in. She straightened her back and smoothed her hair, preparing herself for the spotlight. Her mind raced through her presentation, each point meticulously crafted to resonate with her audience. She wanted to share not only the technical specifications of her device, but also the story of her journey, the late nights, the sacrifices, and the unwavering belief in her vision. As the crowd began to gather, Imani's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and trepidation. The moment she had envisioned for so long was finally here. She stepped forward, ready to introduce herself and her product to the world, to inspire others with her story, and to encourage them to embrace their dreams, no matter the obstacles they faced. "Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today," Imani began, her voice steady as she took the microphone in hand. "My name is Imani Johnson, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my latest innovation, a smart device designed to connect you to the technology that surrounds us in a way that's accessible and friendly." As she spoke, the crowd began to respond. Their interest peaked. Imani felt the energy shift. She was no longer just a young entrepreneur, nervously standing in front of a crowd. She was a force, a voice for those who had been underestimated and overlooked. Her journey was not just her own, it was a path for others to follow. And in that moment, surrounded by supporters and skeptics alike, Imani Johnson knew she was ready to make her mark. As the excitement of Imani's launch event filled the Grand City Mall, not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Marcus, a skeptical security guard, leaned against the wall, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. He had seen many events come and go in his years patrolling the mall. But this one, this black woman showcasing her tech products, was different. Marcus was a man steeped in preconceived notions, a relic of outdated beliefs that refused to adapt to the evolving world around him. To him, success in the tech industry was synonymous with a certain image, one that did not include a young black woman like Imani Johnson. He watched as Imani moved about her booth, setting up her displays with a precision that spoke of her dedication. Her energy was palpable, but to Marcus it was merely a facade, an attempt to mask the inevitable failure he predicted. He shook his head, muttering under his breath, "What does she know about tech? Just a gimmick." His voice was low, but the disdain dripped from each word. This was not the first time he had doubted someone's capabilities based solely on their appearance. His prejudices ran deep, ingrained through years of societal conditioning that left little room for change. As Marcus continued to observe, Imani caught his eye. She paused for a moment, feeling the weight of his scrutiny. She had sensed his disapproval from the outset. Despite the excitement surrounding her launch, a nagging doubt crept into her mind. Was she truly capable of standing against the biases that surrounded her? What if this man, with his dismissive demeanor, was right? It took all her strength to push those thoughts aside. She had worked tirelessly to reach this moment, and the significance of her event transcended any one individual's judgment. "Hey, Miss Techstar," Marcus called out, a smirk forming on his lips as he approached her booth. "You sure you know what you're doing? This isn't just some school science project, you know." Imani felt a pang of frustration at his words, but she remained calm. "I've spent years developing this product," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm brewing within her. "It's designed to enhance connectivity and accessibility for everyone." "Right," he scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Let me guess. It's just another one of those game-changing gadgets that will end up collecting dust. You think you can compete with the big names out there?" A flush of anger surged through Imani, but she held her ground. This moment was not about Marcus or his limited perspective. She was here for her community, to inspire others who felt marginalized and overlooked. "This isn't just about competition," she said firmly. "It's about representation. It's about showing that anyone can succeed in tech, regardless of their background." Marcus looked taken aback by her response, the faintest flicker of respect emerging behind his dismissive facade. But rather than acknowledge her point, he leaned back on his preconceived notions. "Sure, representation is nice, but it doesn't guarantee success. You really think people will care enough to buy whatever it is you're selling?" Imani took a deep breath, grounding herself in her purpose. She had encountered doubters before, and she wouldn't let Marcus's negativity deter her. "I believe in my product," she asserted, her conviction ringing clear. "And I believe in the change it can bring to people's lives." As she spoke, Imani's internal conflict began to dissipate. With each word, she reaffirmed her own strength. Marcus may embody prejudice, but she was determined to rise above his narrow view. She had witnessed countless instances of systemic barriers, and she knew that her presence in the tech industry was a step toward dismantling those barriers. While Marcus stood rooted in his skepticism, Imani turned her attention back to her preparations. She began organizing pamphlets, ensuring that each one conveyed not just information about her product, but also her story and mission. The narrative of resilience woven into her brand was crucial, and she wanted everyone to understand that her success was not an isolated incident, but a collective triumph for women of color in technology. As the crowd began to grow, Imani noticed people drawn to her booth, curiosity etched on their faces. She glanced back at Marcus, who remained stationed nearby, arms still crossed but with a slight change in demeanor. Perhaps the doubt in his eyes was beginning to waver. Imani knew this was her moment to shine, not just for herself but for all those who had ever been underestimated. "Ladies and gentlemen," Imani called out, her voice echoing in the atrium as she stepped forward, determined to capture the crowd's attention. "Thank you all for joining me today. I'm Imani Johnson, and I'm excited to share my journey with you. This is more than just a product launch. It's a celebration of innovation, diversity, and empowerment." The audience responded with encouraging murmurs, and she felt a rush of adrenaline. For Imani, the initial doubts and condescending remarks from Marcus began to fade into the background as she focused on the faces before her, faces filled with anticipation and hope. Marcus shifted uneasily, his skepticism battling with a burgeoning curiosity. He had seen countless entrepreneurs come and go, but there was something different about Imani. Her passion was infectious, and the energy she radiated was palpable. It stirred something within him, a flicker of introspection that he had long suppressed. As Imani launched into her presentation, detailing the features of her innovative smart device, Marcus found himself drawn in despite himself. The way she spoke about her experiences, the challenges she faced as a Black woman in tech, resonated with him in a way he hadn't expected. She was not just selling a product, she was sharing her story, one that echoed the struggles and triumphs of so many others. The more Imani spoke, the more Marcus's guard began to slip. He realized that he had been quick to judge, allowing his biases to cloud his perspective. Perhaps Imani's success would not be a fleeting moment, but a catalyst for change, a shift that could open doors for many others who felt like outsiders in their own fields. As the presentation continued, Imani's confidence grew, and she reveled in the connection she was forging with her audience. The applause that followed her speech was thunderous, and Marcus found himself clapping along, caught up in the moment. It was a small victory, but in that moment, it felt monumental. When Imani finished, the crowd surged forward, eager to engage, to ask questions, to learn more about her product. Marcus watched as she handled the inquiries with grace, her passion lighting up the room. His previous doubts faded further into the background, replaced by an uneasy admiration for the woman who had dared to challenge not only her circumstances, but his preconceived notions. As the day unfolded, Marcus could feel the atmosphere around Imani shifting. The support of the community began to surround her, and he felt a pang of realization about his own limitations. This was not just Imani's fight, it was a fight against the very prejudices he had embodied. A storm of change was brewing, and he found himself standing at the edge, uncertain of where he belonged. Imani Johnson had sparked something in him, a desire to confront his own biases and to understand the world through a different lens. He was witnessing the dawn of a new era, one where diversity and innovation intertwined, and it was happening right before his eyes. As the event drew to a close, Marcus felt a shift within himself, a stirring of thoughts he had long buried. He watched Imani as she celebrated with her friends, laughter and joy radiating from her. Perhaps it was time for him to consider a change of his own, to challenge the beliefs that had shaped his identity. But for now, he would remain a silent observer, absorbing the lessons unfolding before him, caught in the whirlwind of a storm he never saw coming. The vibrant atmosphere of the Grand City Mall was electric with anticipation as Imani's product launch drew in crowds from every corner of the city. Yet amidst the energy and excitement, one person stood out in her unwavering support, Aisha Thompson. Aisha had been Imani's confidant, partner in innovation, and staunchest ally since they first met at a tech conference years earlier. Their friendship blossomed over shared dreams and late-night brainstorming sessions, creating a bond that transcended mere professional collaboration. As Aisha made her way through the bustling crowd, her heart swelled with pride for her friend. She could see Imani's booth bustling with curious onlookers, her radiant smile capturing the attention of many. However, Aisha's gaze shifted, her brow furrowing as she caught sight of Marcus lingering nearby. his posture radiating skepticism and disdain. Aisha had witnessed Marcus's dismissive behavior toward Imani earlier that day, and the memory ignited a flame of protective anger within her. "What a jerk," Aisha muttered under her breath, fists clenching at her sides. She approached Imani, who was surrounded by admirers, her confidence soaring as she shared the features of her innovative smart device. "Did that guy give you a hard time again?" Imani turned to Aisha, a glimmer of frustration in her eyes. "He has his opinions, but I'm not going to let him get to me. This is too important." Aisha could see the resolve in Imani's face, yet she also sensed the lingering hurt from Marcus's condescending remarks. "He's just some security guard," Aisha replied, her voice fierce. "He doesn't know what he's talking about. You've worked your ass off to be here, and you're about to change lives with this product." Imani smiled, grateful for Aisha's unwavering support. "I know, but it's not just about me. It's about all of us who have faced barriers in this industry. I want my story to inspire others." As Imani took a deep breath, preparing to deliver her presentation, Aisha stepped back, her heart swelling with admiration. She had watched Imani transform over the years, from a budding entrepreneur filled with doubt to a fierce advocate for change. The challenges they faced as women of color in technology were immense, and Aisha felt honored to be by Imani's side as she shared her journey with the world. "Ladies and gentlemen," Imani's voice rang out, slicing through the chatter as the crowd quieted. "Thank you all for joining me today. I am thrilled to introduce you to my innovative smart device, designed to bridge the gap between technology and accessibility for everyone." She gestured to the sleek device on the table, its polished surface gleaming under the mall's bright lights. Aisha watched, captivated as Imani eloquently intertwined her product's features with her personal narrative. She spoke passionately about the obstacles she had faced as a Black woman in a predominantly male-dominated field, her struggles to secure funding, the biases she encountered in meetings, and the relentless determination that fueled her journey. "I've encountered doors that were slammed shut simply because of who I am," Imani continued, her voice steady yet emotional. "But with every setback, I learned to push harder, to innovate, and to believe in my vision." This device isn't just a piece of technology, it represents resilience. It symbolizes the countless women of color who have fought for their voices to be heard. Aisha felt a swell of pride wash over her. Imani's words resonated not only with those present, but also with anyone who had ever felt marginalized or dismissed. The crowd began to nod in understanding, and Aisha could see the shift in their energy. They were no longer just spectators, they were participants in Imani's narrative. As Imani elaborated on her product's features, a user-friendly interface, compatibility with various devices, and an accessibility options for individuals with disabilities, the crowd's excitement grew. Aisha could see the spark in people's eyes as they began to envision the positive impact this device could have in their lives and their communities. It was more than just a launch, it was a movement. "Now I want to share a story with you," Imani said, her voice lowering slightly as she drew the audience in closer. "A few years ago, I was sitting in a boardroom surrounded by men in suits, pitching my first idea for a tech startup. They laughed at me, told me I was dreaming too big. But in that moment, I realized that my dreams were valid. My experiences mattered. And that is what this device is about, validating the dreams of those who have been told they're impossible." Aisha watched as Imani's words painted vivid pictures of hope and determination. The audience was hanging on her every word, completely captivated. They weren't just learning about a new gadget. They were absorbing a story of resilience that mirrored their own struggles. "I created this product not only for the tech-savvy, but for those who have been overlooked, for those who are intimidated by technology. It's about inclusivity and accessibility," Imani said, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. "With this device, I want to empower people to harness technology in a way that enhances their lives, not complicates them." Aisha could feel the electricity in the air, a collective acknowledgement of the systemic challenges faced by women of color in tech. It was a topic often brushed aside, yet Imani had bravely brought it to the forefront. Aisha's heart swelled with pride, knowing how hard Imani had fought for this moment. When Imani concluded her presentation, the crowd erupted into applause, cheers echoing throughout the mall. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Imani, but for everyone who had faced adversity and fought for their dreams. Isha joined in the clapping, her eyes shining with tears of joy for her friend. As the applause faded, Isha noticed Marcus standing off to the side, his expression softer now, though uncertainty still lingered. She couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. This was a turning point, not just for Imani, but for the entire community. They had come together to support a woman who was changing the narrative and paving the way for future generations. Imani stepped off the stage and was immediately engulfed by a crowd of admirers. Isha joined her, feeling a renewed sense of purpose as they mingled with the audience. Imani's courage was infectious, inspiring others to share their own stories of resilience. Isha knew this event would ripple through the community, fostering conversations about diversity, equity, and the need for change in the tech industry. Later that evening, as the mall began to empty, Isha found a moment alone with Imani. "You were incredible," Isha said, her voice filled with admiration. "You spoke from your heart, and people felt that. You're changing lives." Imani smiled, though exhaustion was etched on her features. "I couldn't have done it without your support, Aisha. You've always believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." The weight of their journey hung in the air between them, an unspoken acknowledgement of the struggles they had faced together. Aisha knew that Imani's success was not just her own, it belonged to every woman of color striving to break barriers and redefine the narrative. As they stood in the emptying mall, Aisha glanced back at Marcus, who was watching from a distance, deep in thought. "Do you think he'll ever come around?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. Imani looked thoughtfully at Marcus, considering the complexity of human nature. "Change takes time," she replied, "but maybe today was the start of something new for him too. It's not just about technology, it's about challenging beliefs and opening minds." Aisha nodded, hopeful. "I believe that. You're creating waves, Imani. It's going to take a while, but those waves will make a difference." As they left the mall, Aisha felt the weight of the day's events settling in her heart. She had witnessed something transformative, and she knew it was just the beginning. Together, she and Imani would continue to fight for change, not only for themselves, but for every woman and girl who aspired to follow in their footsteps. With the night sky stretching overhead, filled with stars, Aisha felt a sense of optimism rising within her. They were not alone in their fight. The community was rallying behind them, ready to support the journey ahead. As they stepped into the future, Aisha felt confident that together they could weather any storm, rise above prejudice, and usher in a new era of inclusivity and empowerment in technology. As the applause from Imani's presentation faded, an air of excitement hung in the mall, charged with the hope and inspiration that Imani had instilled in her audience. Yet the moment was abruptly shattered. Marcus, standing a few paces away, crossed his arms and stepped forward, his demeanor radiating hostility. The once celebratory atmosphere thickened with tension as he raised his voice, cutting through the jubilant chatter of the crowd. "Hold on a second," Marcus barked, his tone dripping with skepticism. "What makes you think you can just come here and take over this space? This isn't some playground for your little tech demo. You're not qualified to stand up there and present to us." Gasps erupted from the audience. Aisha's heart raced as she processed the shockwaves of disbelief that rippled through the crowd. Imani, taken aback by Marcus's sudden outburst, stood frozen momentarily, her face a mixture of confusion and anger. The murmurs of the crowd shifted from excitement to anxiety, the atmosphere thick with uncertainty. Imani took a deep breath, summoning her strength. She had not come this far to let anyone strip away her hard-earned moment. "Excuse me," she replied, her voice steady yet laced with defiance. "I've worked tirelessly to be here. My product is designed to empower others and make technology accessible. I'm not just here for myself. I'm here for everyone who has been told they don't belong." The audience, sensing the rising conflict, began to shift uneasily. Marcus stepped closer, his presence imposing as he sneered at Imani. "You think you're changing lives? You're just another wannabe entrepreneur trying to make a name for herself. What do you know about the real world?" The tension in the air crackled as Imani met his gaze, her resolve hardening. "What I know, Marcus, is that people like you try to silence voices like mine. You represent the very system that has kept us from thriving. This event is about breaking those barriers, about standing up against the prejudice that permeates our society. With each word, Imani's voice rose in power, the fire of her passion igniting the crowd's support. Aisha stood beside her, heart pounding with pride as she watched her friend rise to the occasion. Around them, murmurs of agreement swelled, and the audience began to rally behind Imani. A man from the crowd stepped forward, his face a mask of indignation. "You don't get to treat her like that. This is a public event, and she has every right to be here." His voice echoed through the mall, drawing attention from others who felt similarly outraged. Encouraged, more voices joined in, creating a chorus of unity. "Yeah, she's worked hard for this. Let her speak. We stand with Imani." The once disbelieving crowd began to coalesce into a powerful force, chanting her name as they expressed their solidarity. Marcus looked taken aback, the realization dawning on him that he was no longer in control of the narrative. He had expected his confrontation to intimidate, but instead it sparked a movement. The energy shifted, and the crowd's unity filled the space with palpable defiance against racism and discrimination. Imani seized the moment, her heart pounding in her chest but fueled by the support surrounding her. "You want to challenge me? Look around. This isn't just about me. It's about every single person who has ever felt marginalized. I am proud of who I am and what I represent. I refuse to let anyone dictate my worth." The audience erupted into cheers, a wave of applause washing over her as they raised their voices in unison. "We are with you, Imani. Keep going." Marcus's expression morphed from skepticism to frustration. He was cornered, overwhelmed by the outpouring of support for Imani. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat, drowned out by the sheer volume of the crowd. "Enough!" he finally shouted, trying to regain some semblance of authority. "You all are just sheep following a dreamer. This is absurd." But the crowd had tasted empowerment and would not back down. "This is reality, Marcus," a woman shouted back, her eyes blazing with conviction. "We're tired of the status quo. We are here to change it." The escalating conflict became a defining moment, a pivotal confrontation that transcended Imani and Marcus's personal clash. It had transformed into a broader battle against systemic prejudice, resonating with every individual in that space who had ever felt silenced or undervalued. Imani, emboldened by the crowd's support, took a step forward. "This is our moment, not just mine. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we unite against oppression. Every person here has the right to dream and pursue their passions without fear of judgment or ridicule. Together, we will build a future where diversity is celebrated and everyone can thrive." The audience roared in approval, a sea of enthusiastic faces reflecting hope and solidarity. The atmosphere in the mall had shifted from one of tension to a celebration of community, resilience, and empowerment. Aisha stood beside Imani, her heart swelling with pride and admiration for her friend, who had transformed a moment of conflict into a powerful statement of unity. Marcus, realizing he had lost control of the situation, retreated slightly, his expression a mix of frustration and confusion. The crowd was not going to let him undermine what they believed in, nor would they allow his prejudices to stifle Imani's message. As the chants of "Imani, Imani" echoed through the mall, Aisha felt an overwhelming sense of hope. This was the beginning of something monumental, a shift in the narrative that Imani had sought to create. The confrontation had not only tested her resolve, but had also ignited a flame of solidarity among those present, turning a moment of conflict into a rallying cry for change. Imani's voice rang clear above the noise, stronger than ever. "Let's channel this energy into action. Together, we can advocate for the inclusivity and representation that we deserve in every industry. Let's ensure that no one ever feels the need to question their right to be heard again." With that powerful statement, Imani solidified her place as a leader, not only in her own story, but in the stories of all those who had been marginalized. The crowd erupted once more, their energy contagious as they chanted her name, signaling that they were ready to stand alongside her in the fight against discrimination and for a future where everyone's voice mattered. As the event progressed, Aisha could see the impact of that moment resonating beyond the mall walls, touching hearts and igniting conversations that would extend far into the community. Together, they were paving the way for a brighter future, one built on unity, respect, in a shared vision of empowerment for all. In the days following the confrontation at the mall, the fallout was immediate and far-reaching. News of the incident spread like wildfire, sparking a wave of media coverage that highlighted not only Imani's story, but also the systemic racial inequality entrenched in the tech industry. Articles poured in from local and national outlets, each detailing Imani's journey and the audacity of Marcus's prejudice. Headlines read, "Tech Entrepreneur Faces Down Discrimination at Launch Event," and "Community Unites Against Racism in the Tech Industry," painting Imani as a beacon of resilience in a predominantly white field. Social media exploded with hashtags like Sherman Support Imani and Equality in Tech, as people from all walks of life shared their own experiences with discrimination. Memes, tweets, and Instagram posts flooded platforms, showcasing solidarity not just for Imani, but for all marginalized individuals facing systemic barriers. Influencers and public figures joined the conversation, amplifying her voice and encouraging their followers to engage in discussions about race and equality. Imani felt a surge of empowerment wash over her as she read the heartfelt messages of support. The outpouring of love and solidarity was overwhelming. People praised her courage, her unwillingness to back down, and her commitment to fostering a more inclusive environment in tech. She found herself scrolling through endless threads of encouragement and testimonials, and with every message, her resolve grew stronger. "This is bigger than me," she thought, her mind racing with ideas about how to harness this momentum. Inspired by the community's response, Imani decided to organize a workshop that would provide a platform for others to share their stories and experiences with discrimination. "If we want to enact real change," she mused, "we need to create a space where voices are heard and stories are shared." She set to work planning the event, envisioning a gathering that would empower individuals to discuss their challenges openly, fostering a sense of belonging and community. Imani reached out to local community centers and organizations to find a venue large enough to accommodate the anticipated turnout. The response was enthusiastic. Everyone wanted to support her initiative. In the weeks leading up to the workshop, Imani meticulously prepared the agenda. She invited speakers from various backgrounds to share their experiences, ensuring a diverse representation of voices. Workshops would focus not only on personal narratives, but also on practical strategies for combating discrimination and advocating for justice within the tech industry. She envisioned breakout sessions where participants could brainstorm ideas on how to create more inclusive workplaces, share resources, and foster mentorship among aspiring tech professionals of color. As the day of the workshop approached, excitement buzzed through the community. Imani utilized social media to promote the event, creating eye-catching graphics and videos that detailed what participants could expect. Each post was met with enthusiastic comments, and people began sharing it within their networks. The sense of camaraderie and hope was palpable. Everyone was eager to be part of this movement for change. On the day of the workshop, the venue was bustling with energy. Imani arrived early, her heart racing with a mix of nerves and anticipation. As she stepped into the room, she was greeted by a diverse crowd, young professionals, students, parents, and even older individuals who had faced discrimination in their own careers. The atmosphere was charged with positivity and an eagerness to connect. Imani took a moment to soak it all in before stepping onto the stage. The room fell silent, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady and full of conviction. "What we're doing today is so important. It's not just about sharing our stories. It's about building a community that supports and uplifts one another. It's about recognizing the barriers we face and working together to dismantle them." The audience erupted into applause, and Imani felt a sense of belonging she hadn't realized she craved. Throughout the day, the workshop flourished into an empowering experience. Each speaker brought their unique narrative to the forefront, sharing the struggles and triumphs they had encountered in their journeys. Stories ranged from subtle microaggressions to overt acts of discrimination, each resonating deeply within the audience. As the participants shared their experiences, a powerful bond formed among them. Imani watched in awe as individuals began to connect over their shared struggles. Strangers became friends as they laughed, cried, and encouraged one another. Breakout sessions allowed for deeper discussions, and the energy in the room was electric with ideas and hope. One participant, a young woman named Kira, stood up to share her story. "I never thought I would have the courage to speak about my experiences," she confessed, her voice shaking slightly. "But seeing Imani stand up against that guard made me realize that we all deserve to be heard. I faced so much rejection in my attempts to break into the tech world, but today I feel empowered to keep trying." Her words resonated with many, sparking an intense discussion on the barriers faced by women of color in the tech industry. Ideas flowed freely as participants began to brainstorm solutions. By the end of the workshop, attendees had generated a plethora of actionable ideas, including mentorship programs, networking events, and community initiatives aimed at supporting underrepresented groups in technology. As the day came to a close, Imani stood at the front of the room, a sense of pride swelling within her. "Today was just the beginning," she proclaimed. "Let's take this energy and continue to build our community. Together, we can challenge the status quo and fight for justice, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who has been marginalized." The audience erupted into applause once more. Their spirits lifted. They exchanged contact information, eager to keep the conversation going and to support one another in their respective journeys. As people filtered out of the venue, Imani felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the weeks following the workshop, the conversation spark continued to gain momentum. Local news outlets picked up on the story, highlighting not only Imani's efforts, but also the voices of those who participated in the event. Articles began to surface that focused on the need for greater diversity in tech and the systemic barriers that continued to hinder progress. Imani watched as the community rallied around her cause, sharing their experiences and calling for change. Social media continued to buzz with support, amplifying their message far beyond their local community. The momentum was undeniable, and Imani knew that this was just the start. Empowered by the support and connections she had fostered, Imani began reaching out to local schools and universities, seeking opportunities to collaborate on educational programs that would encourage young people of color to pursue careers in tech. She envisioned workshops for students, internships with local tech companies, and mentorship programs that would provide guidance and support for those looking to enter the industry. The fight for justice had ignited a fire within her that she couldn't ignore. Imani felt a sense of responsibility to use her platform for change, to ensure that the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs faced fewer obstacles than she had. She began to organize more community events, each one aimed at empowering and educating others about the challenges faced in the tech industry. As the media coverage continued, Imani found herself invited to speak at conferences and panels, sharing her story and advocating for diversity and inclusion. Her presence became a symbol of hope for many, proving that one voice could spark a movement and that collective action could lead to significant change. With each passing day, Imani's mission became clearer. She was no longer just a tech entrepreneur. She was a leader, an advocate for justice, and a source of inspiration for countless others. The fight was far from over, but with the support of her community and the lessons learned from her journey, Imani felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue to rise, breaking down barriers and fighting for a future where everyone had the opportunity to succeed. In the months following the successful workshop, Imani Johnson found herself on a new trajectory, one that stretched far beyond the initial event that had sparked her community's awakening. Her passion for fostering inclusivity in the tech industry ignited a fire within her to collaborate with local nonprofit organizations and agencies that focused on education and advocacy. Together, they would tackle the pervasive issue of racism and systemic discrimination in tech, creating pathways for underrepresented individuals to thrive. Imani reached out to several local organizations dedicated to education and empowerment. One such organization, Tech for Tomorrow, focused on providing training and resources to young people of color interested in pursuing careers in technology. Imani quickly formed a partnership with them, leveraging her connections in the industry to create mentorship opportunities. She organized workshops that featured guest speakers from diverse backgrounds, aimed at providing inspiration and practical knowledge to aspiring technologists. Additionally, she worked with United Voices, a nonprofit that provided educational programs on racial equality and justice. Together, they developed a curriculum tailored for local schools, teaching students about the history of systemic racism and the importance of diversity in various fields, especially in tech. Imani believed that by educating the next generation, they could cultivate a culture of understanding and respect, ultimately leading to a more equitable future. Imani's commitment to this cause did not go unnoticed. She was invited to speak at community events, panel discussions, and even at national conferences, where she shared her experiences and the importance of intersectionality in the fight for equality. Her voice resonated deeply with audiences, inspiring many to take action in their own communities. The movement she had ignited was growing, expanding beyond her initial goals and reaching individuals across the country. However, not everyone was ready to embrace change. Marcus, the security guard whose actions had catalyzed Imani's journey, found himself at the center of a storm. The backlash he faced was swift and unforgiving. News articles dissected his behavior, condemning the prejudices that had led him to question Imani's right to host her event. He became a symbol of the deep-seated biases that persisted in society, and many felt compelled to voice their outrage. As the reality of his situation set in, Marcus grappled with feelings of shame and regret. The public scrutiny forced him to confront the implications of his actions, and for the first time, he recognized how deeply his prejudices had impacted others. His employer mandated sensitivity training as a consequence of his behavior, and he begrudgingly attended, feeling the weight of judgment with every session. During these training sessions, Marcus was exposed to the harsh realities of systemic racism. The facilitators led discussions that challenged participants to examine their biases and reflect on their behavior. As he listened to the stories of those who had faced discrimination, he began to realize the pain that he had perpetuated. The stories of marginalized individuals resonated with him, each one a reminder of the power of words and actions. Gradually, Marcus's perspective began to shift. He started to reflect on his upbringing and the prejudices he had absorbed from a society. The training forced him to look inward, to question the beliefs he had held for so long. He realized that his actions were not just isolated incidents, but part of a larger, systemic problem that affected countless individuals. With each passing week, Marcus continued to attend his sensitivity training, engaging in discussions and activities that pushed him to confront his biases. He was encouraged to share his own experiences and to listen to those of others, fostering a dialogue that had previously seemed impossible. As he learned to empathize with others, he began to understand the complexity of identity and the multifaceted nature of racism. Determined to make amends, Marcus sought opportunities to engage with the community in a positive way. He reached out to Imani, hoping to apologize and express his desire to change. Although apprehensive, Imani agreed to meet him, intrigued yet cautious about what this encounter would entail. She believed in the power of redemption and transformation, but she also understood the complexities involved. When they met at a local coffee shop, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Marcus was visibly nervous, his hands trembling slightly as he fidgeted with his cup. "Imani," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm here to sincerely apologize for how I treated you. I was wrong, and I didn't understand the implications of my actions until now. I've been going through sensitivity training, and it's opened my eyes in ways I never expected." Imani studied him closely, searching for sincerity in his eyes. "I appreciate you coming here and acknowledging your actions, Marcus," she replied, her voice steady yet firm. "But it's not enough to just say sorry. Change takes action. You have to be willing to do the work to make things right." Marcus nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I know I have a long way to go, but I want to help. I want to support the community and work towards making a difference." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "If there's any way I can assist in your initiatives, I would be grateful for the opportunity." Imani was taken aback by his earnestness, but knew that this could be a pivotal moment for both of them. She recognized that real change often stemmed from uncomfortable conversations and the willingness to grow. "There's a workshop I'm organizing next month with Tech for tomorrow," she offered cautiously. "We could use volunteers to help facilitate discussions. If you're serious about making amends, I think that would be a great start." Over the next few weeks, Marcus worked diligently alongside Imani and her team. He participated in the workshops, sharing his story and admitting his mistakes to the attendees. By doing so, he hoped to illustrate the importance of confronting prejudice and learning from one's past. His presence was met with mixed reactions. Some attendees were skeptical, while others appreciated his courage in owning up to his previous actions. As the workshops unfolded, Marcus found himself transformed. Engaging with young people eager to learn and grow reignited his passion for community service. He listened intently to their stories, allowing their experiences to reshape his understanding of diversity. With Imani's guidance, he learned how to become an ally and advocate for those whose voices had been silenced. Imani, witnessing Marcus's transformation, felt a glimmer of hope. She understood that change was a complex journey, often requiring individuals to confront their biases in uncomfortable ways. In Marcus, she saw the potential for growth, and she believed that their collaboration could serve as a powerful example of redemption and healing. As the workshop culminated, the community celebrated not only the success of the event, but also the collective commitment to combating discrimination in all its forms. Imani's efforts had blossomed into a movement, uniting individuals across the region in pursuit of justice and equality. The collaboration with Marcus illustrated that change was possible, even for those who had once perpetuated the very systems they now sought to dismantle. Together, Imani and Marcus continued to engage with the community, sharing their stories and facilitating discussions that challenged biases and nurtured understanding. They became a powerful team, advocating for a more inclusive tech industry and striving to ensure that no one would have to face the same discrimination that had sparked their journey. Their partnership embodied the essence of growth, illustrating that with hard work and accountability, even the deepest wounds could begin to heal, paving the way for a brighter, more equitable future. As the sun set over the bustling city, casting golden hues across the skyline, Imani Johnson stood backstage, her heart racing with anticipation. The sounds of the crowd filtering through the curtain were a reminder of how far she had come since that fateful day at the mall. Reflecting on her journey, she acknowledged the resilience she had cultivated through adversity. The challenges she faced as a Black woman in the tech industry, coupled with the public confrontation with Marcus, had tested her spirit but ultimately strengthened her resolve. Imani took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She was not just representing herself, but also the countless individuals who had faced discrimination and hardship. Her narrative was a tapestry woven with stories of struggle, perseverance, and hope. The community event she was about to address was a culmination of her efforts, a celebration of change, unity, and the power of collective action. As the crowd settled, Imani stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding immediate attention. The audience erupted in applause, a warm wave of support that enveloped her. With a smile, she acknowledged their enthusiasm, feeling a surge of energy that propelled her forward. She glanced at the front row, where Marcus stood beside her, his demeanor humble yet proud. His journey from prejudice to understanding mirrored her own transformation, a living testament to the potential for change within everyone. "Good evening, everyone," Imani began, her voice steady yet passionate. "I stand here today not only as an entrepreneur, but as a woman who has navigated the complexities of identity, resilience, and community. This journey has not been easy, but every challenge has been an opportunity for growth." She recounted the events of the past year, detailing the launch of her innovative smart device and the backlash that followed. Imani spoke candidly about the confrontation with Marcus, how it forced her to confront not only his biases, but also the systemic issues that plague the tech industry. "That day," she continued, "I realized that our fight extends beyond personal struggles. It is a battle for equity, for visibility, and for the voices that have been silenced for far too long." As she shared her experiences, Imani highlighted the importance of community support. She spoke of the workshops, the partnerships formed, and the young lives touched by her initiatives. Each story she told resonated with the audience, evoking a powerful sense of empathy and solidarity. "Together we can challenge the status quo," she urged. "Together we can foster an environment where everyone, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to succeed." The atmosphere in the auditorium shifted. It became electric with enthusiasm and determination. Imani's message of hope and resilience ignited a fire within the crowd, inspiring them to reflect on their own roles in creating a more equitable society. Change doesn't just happen. It requires action, commitment, and a willingness to listen and learn from one another. Marcus stepped forward as Imani concluded her speech. The moment was symbolic, reflecting not only his personal growth, but also the broader theme of forgiveness and understanding that had permeated their journey. I want to express my heartfelt apology to Imani and to everyone who has been affected by my actions, he began, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. I was wrong in my judgments, and I have learned that true strength lies in acknowledging our mistakes and working to make amends. His vulnerability resonated with the audience, and he continued, through Imani's courage and the support of this incredible community, I have come to understand the importance of diversity and the responsibility we all share in creating a more just world. I am committed to being an ally and to fostering understanding among all individuals. The applause that followed was deafening, a powerful acknowledgement of the transformative journey they had both undertaken. In that moment, Imani and Marcus stood together not just as individuals, but as representatives of hope and change. Their partnership illustrated the profound impact of empathy and the strength of community. As the event drew to a close, Imani encouraged everyone to take action in their own lives. Let this be the beginning of our collective journey towards equity and justice, she urged. Let's commit to listening, learning, and lifting one another up. Together, we can break down barriers and create a future where everyone is celebrated for who they are. The audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation, the energy palpable as they embraced Imani's vision for a better tomorrow. In that moment, the community felt united, empowered, and ready to take on the challenges ahead. The seeds of change had been planted, and Imani's voice would continue to resonate in the hearts and minds of those present, inspiring them to cultivate understanding and empathy in their everyday lives. As Imani and Marcus exited the stage, they were met with cheers and applause, but it was the quiet conversations that sparked around the room that truly filled her with hope. People were connecting, sharing their own stories, and discussing ways to support one another in their journeys. This was the change Imani had envisioned, a ripple effect that would extend far beyond one event, creating a movement fueled by compassion and solidarity. In the weeks that followed, Imani found herself even more deeply engaged with the community. She hosted additional workshops, created mentorship programs, and developed resources to empower aspiring entrepreneurs. Her commitment to fostering inclusivity and equity in the tech industry became a cornerstone of her mission, inspiring others to join her cause. Marcus, too, became a vital part of these initiatives. He used his experiences to educate others about the impact of prejudice and the importance of allyship. His transformation served as a powerful reminder that change is possible for anyone willing to confront their biases and work towards understanding. As the year came to a close, Imani reflected on the journey she had embarked upon. She had grown immensely, not only as a leader, but as a person. The challenges she faced had shaped her resilience, igniting a fire within her to continue fighting for justice. She understood that this journey was ongoing, and that the work ahead would require sustained effort and dedication. Imani stood on the balcony of her office, looking out over the city that had become her home. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. With a heart full of gratitude, she thought of all the individuals who had supported her along the way. The friends, family, colleagues, and even those who had challenged her. In that moment, she realized that the journey of change was not just about her. It was about the collective strength of a community willing to stand up for what is right. She felt an overwhelming sense of purpose, knowing that together they could create a world where everyone was celebrated for their uniqueness and given the opportunity to thrive. As Imani stepped away from the balcony, she felt renewed, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. She knew that while the journey might be difficult, the strength of community, empathy, and understanding would guide her every step of the way. This was just the beginning, and she was excited to see where the road would lead, confident that together they could make a difference. The closing words of her speech echoed in her mind. Let us not just dream of a better world, let us create it, one step at a time. With that thought, Imani felt a profound sense of hope for the future, knowing that the change she had fought for was not just her own, but a collective journey toward a brighter tomorrow for all.